So, my name is Daniel Kelly. I'm the Operational Management Apprentice here at 3D360. I'm joined with Marjan today, one of our ex-learners of our Advanced Manufacturing training courses. I appreciate you taking the time, Marjan, for the case study today. If you could kind of first and foremost just give a bit of an introduction to yourself, just for the purpose of the recording, state your full name, the area you did the skills bootcamp through, and we can get going from there.
Okay, so my name is Marjan Wouda. I'm Dutch by origin, and I live in Lancashire in Darwin. I'm a sculptor, and I was invited to join the boot camp. So I'm not quite finished. I've still got to do the CAD. Yeah, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's the last section of what I've been promised.
Amazing. So what kind of drew your interest to joining our skills bootcamp course, and what initially were you trying to sort of gain from the training as an established sculptor?
So, well, of course, I work with steel, and so I was already introduced I've already learned that I need some CAD skills in order to communicate with the sort of metal industry. So, but I'm very aware that my knowledge and understanding is really very limited, and I got just a feeling that there's a world out there that I don't really fully understand, or I haven't properly learned, that would really up my skills. So especially when you're talking about, when you're working with companies and you need to communicate your ideas effectively. And, it's all, a lot of that is in the early sort of maquette stages. So to make something that you can turn around or you could slice differently, I know, that it's all out there, and I've just not been taking advantage of it. But so I think the 360 kind of gives me the I suppose, the courage and the backing to kind of really go into what's for me quite a new area.
Okay, very interesting. So I guess, I've read a bit into yourself. You've got sort of almost 40 years of experience, which is very impressive. How did you kind of see the sort of additive manufacturing actually fitting in with your maybe more traditional practices at the start of the training?
So let me have, okay. Well, especially, I suppose at this kind of maquette stage where I'm kind of making things on a small scale and exploring how I might make them in metal. So say that, would you ask that question again, Daniel?
Yeah, of course. So you've got kind of a lot of experience, being a sculptor in the industry.
Yeah.
I guess you've, got the traditional methods of sculpting and the industry itself. How did you kind of see maybe the more traditional or maybe more advanced additive manufacturing kind of method fitting into that more traditional practice of yours at the start of the training?
So, well, I suppose, yes, what I was thinking, for example, as it happens, I'm doing a crowdfund at the moment. So I was thinking, I could make some little models, and that could help me kind of, communicate my ideas and get people to back me. And also, that mainly, I suppose, that with my limited understanding, that was, but I also, basically I've moved away a little bit from the very traditional methods, which I'm still using, casting, which is bronze casting. But when I started some years ago thinking about moving into metal, I already started, I had to then engage with kind of digital processes, because that industry, just to get metal cut, you need to have a digital kind of instruction. So but like I say, I was aware that it was really very limited, and that I could, I suppose, I mean, what I do is a kind of 2D CAD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so really, I know, I think this can help me to do more into 3D CAD. I think, the sort of practical element of 3D 360 is amazing and really brilliant. And also, it's wonderful that, like, you learn things, you can go away, and then you can come back and say, listen, I haven't really got that, or I need a bit of help with this, that, or the other. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so you was more kind of, I guess, like most people prefer the actual face-to-face, more hands-on, practical, if you will,
Yeah.
training as
Yes.
opposed to the online.
Yes, definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same myself.
Yeah.
So I guess, was there a moment, maybe there wasn't, but was there a moment when you maybe really realized how kind of the 3D printing side of the training, the side of the industry, could actually be a useful part of your kind of, I guess, day to day, week to week processes as a sculptor? Was there a moment where you maybe discovered or realized, or did you kind of just fall upon it?
Yeah, I think really I more or less fell apart. It's more a process that I'm in now. Yes. So, I think, like, there's a lot, really. I mean, like, it's only a few days, isn't it, that, Daniel, that I've done. So I feel I've just, there's a lot of learning still to happen, really. And you don't really, for me, the real learning is when you're engaging with material and you're seeing, how that impacts on what you're making. I mean, which is, what also I find tricky about, this digital way of working. When I make something, I want the material to kind of communicate back to me and sort of say, I've got a little thing here. I sort of say, oh, I can bend like this, and oh, I can layer it like
Yeah.
this, yeah. And so it in a way, it can't all come from my head. I think really good art has to come from that kind of communication of material and ideas, and where those two come together. So so that's why, I'm there. I need to still discover more, I think,
Yeah.
about
100%. You've still got more to discover, but you've kind of discovered that you can bring things to life in a form that you may not have been able to previously.
and also kind of like the sort of in-house model is great, that you can, with a 3D printer, do so much. And I'm really interested also in learning. I heard you can use it to laser cut materials. You can set it to that, which I'm really excited. I haven't yet learned, but I will. I'm sure I will. So
Sure, you definitely will.
that's another kind of aspect that really, really interests me.
Okay. So you briefly mentioned before how you kind of traditionally or previously you've used the 2D CAD. And obviously with the course now you're going to have the training and the tools of the software to use to kind of transition more into 3D CAD.
Yeah.
How will actually learning to use 3D CAD, and I suppose as well 3D printers, is that going to change the way that you approach the design and the fabrication of your sculptures themselves?
Yeah, it could do. I hope it will do. I think, I mean, at the end of the day, the real thing you're proposing is a 3D thing. So the more you can communicate. I mean, and it's a very collaborative process, of course. Like, I don't, these big sculptures for public spaces, I don't make them by myself. I work with in workshops and with fabricators. So I think, and also maybe at the structural point, communicating with structural engineer, the more clarity you can bring to how the whole thing a whole sculpture might work three-dimensionally, I think it is really, really beneficial.
Amazing. So I guess what I've kind of, what I've seen from you is you've got a few projects at the moment. One being the Bring Back
Yeah,
the Hare. Is that am I saying that right? I'm not butchering the name, am I?
Bring Back the Hare. That's spot on.
And
Yeah.
that has very, very strong roots in Lancashire, I believe. Have you incorporated any sort of digital manufacturing? Has the training influenced how you maybe tell some of the stories through your work? Has it maybe had an effect on that project at all, or?
Well, maybe I think that's a bit too early to say, really, Daniel. I think, to be honest, I am at the earlier stage with another project, which is going to happen here in Darwin, on Darwin Moor. And so that's a project of a big curlew. And that is in the earlier stages where we're just looking at, we're just kind of engaging with a structural engineer to kind of see how to make it so that I'm happy with it, but also structurally sound. So that's So whereas the Hare is in a later stage. So yeah, I mean, unless I can do more in terms of the crowd fund, that's a sort of more, well, let's call it commercial end, commercial end of that of a crowd fund. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a little bit, I'd say, those are areas to engage with and to learn about still, really. So I'd say it's going to be more future projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd love to talk about the Hare project in terms of, so that is kind of a sculpture I made with help from others quite some years ago, and I've been traveling it around Lancashire and also out of Lancashire. But I'd really like to bring it to get it installed in a permanent location. So that is what that crowdfund is all about, and it's a very Lancashire. Yeah, you're right. I'm really interested in Lancashire folklore, and this Hare ties right in because we've got lots of really fascinating stories. And also the other thing is, I suppose I live here in Darwin. I love the West Pennine Moors. The location that we're looking at for that particular sculpture is also in the West Pennines, but it's in the Rawtenstall Valley. So I'm really kind of quite aware, I guess, of the ecology of this kind of moorland, and I've learned recently that how very important it is to as part of our climate change response. So so I think it's kind of and so in essence, moorland is incredible carbon storage. So either we look after it and we can add, and that carbon storage can become even better, or we don't look after it and that means it's an incredible negative effect on the carbon that's in the atmosphere. Yeah, because a lot is sort of locked up in the in the peatland. So I think it's kind of really important that people learn what an incredible resource we have with this landscape, and I'm hoping, and I believe that by putting a big sculpture somewhere in a really lovely location kind of gets people talking, and I think that's where it kind of starts, and that's kind of what I want with public.
I must say it's extremely interesting, and you seem very, very knowledgeable on these topics, and it's very impressive. So congrats to you on that.
Thank you.
I guess going back to sort of your process. Obviously, we talked about the CAD side of the process, how that historically you've kind of used 2D CAD. Future, you're looking at sort of 3D CAD, and now you can look at a 3D CAD.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual process of, you know, creating the templates or the molds or any sort of process that you have, I'm assuming that traditionally that's kind of all been manual from scratch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right. It
yeah,
holds
100%.
craft knife and bits of paper or clay and wax and all those things. It's very, very much tactile. Yeah.
Yeah. So you having the ability to, you know, potentially look at printing, you know, 3D printing accurate templates, you know, potentially speeding up the construction, if you will, and ultimately I think reducing the waste of probably A, time, and B, material.
Yeah.
I think, you know, well, I guess, do you think that's potentially a massive benefit to, you know, affecting the efficiency and scale of your production process?
Absolutely. And also, I mean, you know, very often I'm limited by cost, you know, or you know, that becomes limiting. So, you know, like I might make something smaller because it's too expensive to make it bigger or whatever, or you know, or I might not cast a piece which I'd really like to cast, but you know, just the kind of cost and the risk, you know. So yeah, so I think kind of making, like I said, like more things in house, and also and potentially cheaper. You know, it opens, I think, a lot of doors if I can make a mold myself, for example. You know, that's already, you know, that I haven't yet learned, you know, I haven't yet started using it like that, but I think that could be, you know, really open doors, for me.
Amazing. So kind of circling back to what we mentioned before about kind of looking ahead, you know, your future projects, potentially implementing the, you know, the digital methods and the printing, the CAD, the advanced manufacturing, kind of, you know, looking broader, you know, 12 months down the line, whatever it may be. How do you how do you think this blend of, you know, the traditional techniques that you've, you know, used for the past couple of decades, coupled with the kind of new learnings of the digital manufacturing methods, how do you think that will actually shape your future work? But more importantly, I guess, do you think this will inspire other kind of artists in Lancashire?
Uh, yeah, of course it will inspire other artists in Lancashire. You know, it's just, I mean, it's just that sort of bringing it home, you know, and making something, you know, it's just, it is really, I think, you know, incredible opportunity really to and I have mentioned it to several kind of people that I know and said, like, did you know there is this brilliant sort of opportunity out there? And so yes, especially also like younger people who are just starting out, I think so how exactly it will, you know, like I can't, there's a lot, like I say, I need to discover. And also, you know, there will also probably be like limitations. You know, there are some ways that I will say, well, I know I can do this digitally, but I can also do it with a craft knife and a bit of cardboard. And I might, you know, I don't know, but I might find the cardboard and the craft knife, you know, still an important part of the process. Yeah. Like as an artist, it's always important to play. So, you know, whether you're, you know, have that sort of sense that you're playing, that you're discovering what your material, you know, that is, I think, where true creativity lies, when you can kind of give yourself space and time to be inventive and to not know what you're doing. So I think that is, you know, that is kind of where I haven't, you know, got far enough into the process to have got to that point. But, you know, so I think that is where the kind of future development lies, and that's yet to come.
Amazing. I guess, from me, it's been an extremely insightful conversation, to say the least. It's been absolutely amazing to hear your positive thoughts on the training. It's been absolutely incredible to hear what you are doing currently and what you'll be looking to do in the future with, the skills from the training and digital manufacturing, using the printing, using the CAD. It all sounds absolutely amazing. And as I mentioned before, it'd be amazing to, pencil a date in the diary for 6 months down the line to have a catch up and see, where you're up to with all of these amazing ideas you've got. In the meantime, we've got plenty of support clinics and support that you can access. So whether that's business support or whether that's technical support, so I'm sure you can make use of those in the meantime as well. We can stay in touch that way. But other than that, that's all from me. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to speak to you. And unless you've got any other closing remarks, I think.
Well, yes, I do. Only just to say, so this crowdfund is out there, and if anybody who's listening to this, whatever you're gonna
case
study, that is interested, they can go and have a look at what's being proposed and what, how they can maybe contribute. You can be a backer for just £2, and I think there will be people out there who kind of will like the idea that there will be a sculpture in the middle of Rawtenstall, and they can help make that come about. So anyway, that is to go to www.spacehive.com/bring back the hare, and that will that explains everything about
amazing
project.
I'm gonna have to go and have a look at that myself now, Marjan, I tell you.
Good. Good.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, other than that, it's been, as I say, a pleasure speaking to you.
Okay.
I will let you go. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I appreciate that very, very much.